ballooning is an absolutely fantastic sport. I recommend if you've never done it, come out, get up close and personal with it, and bring the kids. It's a good, fun family event.
Stryker is Mark's safety supervisor. Nyla basically stays in the car. She doesn't like it.
She's our PR.
She's our PR person. She's an ambassador for her breed.
Then when we send them out on the field, we're going to push cold air into it with this inflator fan. It's going to sit on the side like a big beach ball. Then we'll heat the air up on the inside and it'll roll right up into place.
Okay, taking pictures and all again.
I was licensed in '93, but I was around it about 10 years prior to that. Gail and I actually met on a hot air balloon ride 26 years ago. But I was more interested in girls than balloons back then, and then about 5 years after that wore off, we went to a couple of balloon races, and a race like this where the conditions were beautiful, a bunch of balloons in the air, I was on the ground, said, I got to do this. Ballooning started over 220 years ago, a little place outside of France called Annonay, south side of France. And it was developed by two brothers, the Montgolfier brothers. Their dad happened to be a paper and silk manufacturer, and they were spying on the next door neighbor, watching her dry some undergarments under a little pan of fire, and noticed the bloomers and the skirts catching this energy. So they reported back to Dad, and Dad said, well, let's start building some bags and stuff and experiment with this. Found out immediately they had a lot of tremendous lift capacity. They knew they could probably get off the ground. Now, this is 100 years before the Wright brothers did their historic flight. So nothing had ever flown before, so they decided to send up a chicken, a sheep, and a duck for the first passengers in a hot air balloon. Now, they didn't carry the fire on board. They would get a big smoky pit going there, and they would get the balloon really hot. They'd load the sheep, the chicken, and the duck on board, and they cut it loose, and it drifted off and landed, and they followed it, and everybody was fine except when the balloon landed, the sheep, upon exiting the basket, kicked the chicken and broke its wing. So over chicken dinner that night, they decided to start making bigger and better designs. And about that time, King Louis XVI caught wind of what was going on and said, oh, I got to have my emblems all over this, because I'll be seen for miles. I'll be known throughout the country. So the original balloons were this royal blue balloon with these gold emblems, King Louis emblems. And this was before Remax. And they would, like I said, they didn't carry the fire on board. They would get these big smoky pits going and get the balloon hot. And they'd cut them loose and they'd pour off sand and water bottles off the balloons to keep the altitude. Now they would come drifting out into these farmers' fields, and these farmers had no idea what these things were. They were absolutely terrified. And then see King Louis' emblems, oh my gosh, he set the demons out to destroy our crops or tax them. So anyway, they came out with their farm implements, pitchforks and machetes, threatening to destroy this balloon and kill the people on board. So Montgolfier brothers said, we got to do something to appease the landowners. And so they started bringing champagne and a little bit of breads and stuff from the local countryside to prove that they were friend and not foe, and offered to the landowners as an appeasement. And that's what gave rise to the champagne flights that we carry the tradition on today. The winds have welcomed you with softness. The sun has blessed us with her warm hands. We have flown so high and so free that God has joined us in our laughter and set us gently and safely back in the loving arms of Mother Earth.